Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I have exciting news for you. A little bit later on, we will be giving you the final count from the Salvation Army Telethon. They were kind enough to come in early to do the counting. Originally, we said we'd announce it on Tuesday's show. They couldn't wait. They were as excited as I was, probably as excited as you were, to see what the final number was. Did we hit that $5,000? Because remember, everything would be matched because of an anonymous donor. Everything would be matched up to $5,000. So how did we do? Well, you'll have to wait to find out. First, we have some comments from over the weekend and from after the telethon. Thank you, by the way, for everyone who donated to the telethon and all the great comments we received about the music and just the fun that we had on Friday. I really do appreciate it. Here are some comments from viewers. Hochul is going to make it illegal for pet shops to sell pets. Yes, according to a new law that she signed in, bans the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits at retail pet stores. It allows pet stores to charge shelter rents to use their space for adoptions. Dogs, cats, and rabbits across New York deserve loving homes and humane treatment, said Governor Hochul. I'm proud to sign this legislation, which will make meaningful steps to cut down on harsh treatment and protect the welfare of animals across the state. So that's what this viewer is referencing. What is wrong with her head, they said. What illogical reason could possibly justify this type of law? What's next? Making it illegal to sell candy in candy stores? Great point. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer early this morning. Well, good morning, Frank. Hey, good morning. Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas to you. Regarding Hochul's new law that will not allow pet shops to sell pets like dogs and cats. Boy, this is a big topic. In general, this type of legislation is a prime example of putting a bandage on a festering wound, in that more specifically, by not allowing pet shop owners to sell dogs and cats, said owners will be the ones that get hurt financially instead of the alleged criminals who are raising said pets in allegedly substandard conditions, which this new legislation is designed to eliminate. Just another example of shallow, short-sighted thinking. Absolutely. Thank you very much for those comments this morning. If you had not heard, that's what the governor did. She signed in legislation that would ban the sale of cats, dogs, and rabbits in retail stores. Now, we have some New York State issues that we're going to get to a little bit later on. A couple of stories that we have to catch up on from over the weekend. Of course, you heard by now that Nancy Pelosi fell on her trip. She has had hip replacement after that fall in Luxembourg. Former House Speaker was injured while on visit to mark 80th anniversary of Battle of the Bulge. She was traveling with a bipartisan congressional delegation in Luxembourg when she sustained the injury, said her spokesperson. They said Pelosi wouldn't be able to attend the remainder of the events that planned to honor American veterans who fought at the Battle of the Bulge. A person familiar with the incident said she tripped and fell after a group photo with other lawmakers and officials. The U.S. Embassy posted a group photo Friday morning that did include Pelosi. A separate person familiar with the incident said Pelosi could walk with help and was alert. On Saturday, her spokesperson, Krager, said Pelosi had a successful hip replacement and is well on the mend. Pelosi exited party leadership after Democrats lost the House majority in the 2022 elections. Earlier, she made history as the first woman to be named Speaker and played a central role in the passage of the Affordable Care Act, or as you may know, as Obamacare. Pelosi has continued to serve in the House and recently won re-election to another two-year term, and she actually put in her paperwork to run yet again after this. So at the end of her next term, she'll be 86. And that means she wants 2 more years after that, meaning 88. And who knows if she continues to run after that. Speaking of the House, Congressman Nick Langworthy on Friday, it was announced that he was named to the House Energy and Commerce Committee. This is a big position for Congressman Langworthy, so congratulations. He said, I am deeply honored to be named to the House Committee on Energy and Commerce and have the opportunity to give a voice to Western New York and the Southern Tier, a region that sits atop the vast Marcellus Shale, on one of the most powerful committees in Congress. Under President Trump and a Republican Congress, this committee will be at the forefront of American energy independence and energy exploration, giving us the chance to bring long overdue attention to the Southern Tier's potential as an energy powerhouse. For too long, Democrats in Albany have held back our communities by blocking access to this transformative resource. On this committee, I will work tirelessly to ensure that our region's needs are prioritized its potential unlocked, and its voice heard in Washington. This is quite a lengthy quote from the congressman. He continued, with the committee's broad jurisdiction over energy, healthcare, telecommunications, and more, we have an unparalleled opportunity to influence the issues that impact families across the southern tier and western New York. As we enter a new golden age of America, I look forward to working with the committee and President Trump to deliver real results that continue to make our country a better place to live, work, and raise a family. Now, the Committee on Energy and Commerce is the oldest standing legislative committee in the United States House of Representatives and is vested with the broadest jurisdiction of any congressional authorizing committee. The committee is responsible for matters including telecommunications, consumer protection, food and drug safety, public health and research, environmental quality, energy policy, and interstate and foreign commerce, among others. So congratulations to Congressman Nick Langworthy. Also, as an update, we talked about, I know I'm moving fast this morning. Please bear with me. I am going to mention, I've got it on the printer. I forgot to grab it. We've got a couple of New York State issues that we'll probably dive into pretty early on in the program. But Phil Palmisano had talked about this when we interviewed him a couple weeks ago. He calls on Governor Hochul to reverse the sanctuary state status. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano signed onto a letter written by Assemblyman Jarrett Gandolf, along with other members of the Assembly Republican Conference, that calls on Governor Hochul to repeal Executive Order 170. Former Governor Cuomo issued his executive order and essentially made New York a sanctuary state by not allowing state officials and employees to share workers' immigration status with federal authorities, as well as prohibit local law enforcement agencies from cooperating with ICE officials when a migrant commits a crime. They point to the large number of those in the country, and particularly New York, illegally, who are facing criminal charges, as well as the amount of taxpayer money New York is spending on illegal migrants as reasons to repeal sanctuary state status. In the letter, Palmisano, Gandolf, and their colleagues wrote, quote, over the past 3 years, New York State has spent $4.3 billion directly to New York City for costs related to the ongoing migrant crisis. Unfortunately, it appears likely that the upcoming budget will include several billion more. Additionally, according to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, there are approximately 58,000 illegal migrants present in New York City who are convicted felons or facing criminal charges, over 1,000 of which are suspected or known gang members. In September, it was reported that migrants account for a large percent of arrests in New York City. It is a fact that New York is spending more on illegal migrants than on our veterans, seniors, and homeless combined. This is wrong, said Palmisano. If the governor wants to crack down on crime and do right by the taxpayer, she will move swiftly to end New York's sanctuary status now. Governor Hochul claims to want to remove illegal migrants who commit crimes from the state and says she wants to help end the migrant crisis. The good news for her is she has the executive authority to do so. Because New York was made a sanctuary state by executive order, she does not need legislative approval to repeal it. I urge her to act and do so today. Speaking of Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, today, is the start to the Salvation Army's Republican versus Democrat, the 15th annual Salvation Army Bell Ringing Challenge. I know people were asking for an update on this. Well, bell ringers will be the Democrats today from 1 to 7 p.m. Tomorrow, it's the Republicans from 1 to 7 p.m. All right, we got to take a short break. I want to print that out, though, because I want to mention that tomorrow on the program as well. We got to take a short break because I realize I have our air purifiers on in the background, so you may hear that humming. I want to shut that off. So it's a little smoother sounding this morning. Get those comments in, get those waves. Already a lot of waves. And as I mentioned, a little bit later on in the program, I will give you an update on how we did with the Salvation Army Telethon here on Frankly Speaking. That was on Friday. If you missed it, you missed a great show. Our goal was to hit $5,000 because that would be matched, or $5,000 or more, and that would be matched by an anonymous donor up to $5,000. So did we make that mark? Did we come close? I will let you know here very quickly. Very shortly, I should say. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Stay with us.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning, New York is a local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. From service and repair to new installations, trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is history making.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back as we're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Would you like to talk about drones? The big topic of the day. New York senator says the feds are too fearful of public reaction to tell the truth about the mystery drones. A New Jersey state senator has bluntly accused the government of hiding the truth about the mysterious drones flying over the Garden State, saying the feds are too fearful of how people will react. Quote, whatever these drones are doing, the government really doesn't want us to know, said Senator John Bramnick. He called the Department of Defense to come clean with the American public about what was really happening. What that must mean is they're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions, he claimed. And I know Governor Hochul is sending in some technology, and Schumer as well, to help those in New Jersey. But the state senator continued, there must be something going on that they can't tell us because they're so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. Very interesting. Bramnick also noted that the FBI claiming to have obtained no evidence of a threat does not help the average citizen who may be concerned. There's no evidence of a threat. You mean you didn't do anything sinister yet? Yeah, I could probably make that statement, and I have no top secret clearance. He questioned how the government would let the public, as well as local leaders, become so frustrated if they had an answer that they could easily share. Why would the government allow the public to be so frustrated? Why would the government allow a United States senator to be so frustrated? We heard this from both sides of the aisle, he said. He called for New Jersey to issue a limited state of emergency until officials could provide answers on the drones, which began popping up in parts of New York and New Jersey on November the 18th. Tensions over the flying objects hit a boiling point Saturday in New York after Governor Hochul declared it's time to take action. This has gone too far, she said in a statement. President-elect Donald Trump, she also asked federal authorities to authorize local police departments to shoot down the drones. President-elect Donald Trump also said he wants the feds to shoot a drone out of the sky, saying, let the public know and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. And some are suggesting that kind of vigilantism is going to occur. Now, Joe Rogan says he's genuinely concerned about the drone sightings. Now there is a video that's being floated that an unverified theory about the unmanned devices sniffing out harmful substances. And this is what a lot of people are concerned about. Could these be a part of the government looking for, let's say, a bomb, a nuclear bomb, some type of dirty bomb? The list goes on and on. John Ferguson, the CEO of a remote aircraft system company in Kansas, claimed in a drawn-out TikTok video on Saturday that drones are attempting to smell either a gas leak, radioactive material, or something else on the ground. Quote, the only reason why you would ever fly an unmanned aircraft at night is if you're looking for something, he said in a clip, noting he doesn't believe the drones are nefarious. So my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground, gas leak, radioactive material, whatever, the CEO said. Ferguson added that the theory was his best guess based on his expertise and just his opinion on the drone mystery that's gripping the East Coast, and admitted, I've not bounced this off of anybody. So if you think it's, we'll say, baloney, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot going on right now. But his theory resonated with many, including Joe Rogan, who said, this is the first video about these drones that has got me genuinely concerned, he said on Twitter. The popular podcast host previously called the claims from the U.S. government suspect after White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said the drones were not a public safety issue. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas also downplayed concerns about the drones. But to that state senator's point, well, if there's nothing there, why wouldn't they just give us more information so that all this wild speculation doesn't occur? Some of those drone sightings are in fact drones, he said. Some are manned aircrafts that are commonly mistaken for drones, and we do see duplicative reporting. Mayorkas also stressed that the department has deployed personnel and technology, and if there's any reason for concern, if we identify any foreign involvement or criminal activity, we will communicate it with the American people accordingly, he told ABC News on Sunday. Right now, we are not aware of any. If we become aware of any, we will communicate accordingly and take appropriate action. The Post did reach out to the DHS over this latest theory that the drones are looking for something, maybe even radioactive. A wide range of politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, have been making noise about the seemingly endless drone sightings in the tri-state area. Chuck Schumer called on the feds to deploy radar technology to identify the swarms of drones. Schumer, along with New York Senator Gillibrand, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, and New Jersey Senator Andy Kim, sent a letter to the FBI demanding sent a letter to FBI, Homeland Security, and the Federal Aviation Administration's last week demanding an explanation about what they are doing to identify and address the source of these incursions. Mayorkas said we are limited in our authority to incapacitate drones. This was on ABC's This Week. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States, recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. So that is the reality. But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities, and it's critical, as we have all said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded. We want state and local authorities to also have the ability to counter drone activity under federal supervision. This is one important element that we have requested, and we've heard it echoed by the state and local officials themselves. Now, host George Stephanopoulos, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, ABC forced to pay quite a sum to President-elect Donald Trump and issue an apology, specifically George Stephanopoulos, though he did not mention it on his show, ABC's This Week. But he asked a question to Mayorkas. You know, President-elect Trump has put out a post on this. I want to put on the screen right now. He says mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. Your response? Mayorkas said, well, we are aware of the drone sightings. And as I've said, I think there are more than 8,000 drones flown every day in the United States. With respect to the ability to incapacitate those drones, we are limited in our authorities. We have certain agencies within the Department of Homeland Security that can do that, and outside our department, but we need those authorities expanded as well. Even Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar was on Face the Nation saying that we need to be more transparent as a government. Host Margaret Brennan said, I do want to ask you about these drones on the East Coast because we've looked at your record and you actually co-sponsored legislation a few years ago trying to expand authority to deal with them. Why do you need an act of Congress to deal with this? And why didn't the Democrats move on it? Klobuchar said, well, first of all, the administration has repeatedly assured people that they are safe. However, 1, we need a briefing for the members of the Senate to figure out what's going on here. 2, we need more transparency. And 3, I appreciated some of the congressman's words because what he is talking about is we need to have a new regulatory rule in place here. Right now, you have to register a drone if it's over half a pound, and there are penalties if you don't do that. Well, I think we have to make sure that regime is enforced with local and state authorities, and then we've got to figure out, do we really want all these drones? Because while these may be safe, who knows what happens in the future? And they have to be within 400 feet. So these things are going to be what? Flying over people's family picnics and over their homes and over beaches? Like, this is not going to be a good future if we see too many of these. So I think I was pleased that he said he wanted to move forward on some rules and finding a way to regulate those in a better way, because this just can't be. No one knows why this huge drone is right over their house. Chris Christie suggested on ABC's This Week. I wonder why he's a guest on there. But he said, I lived in New Jersey my whole life. This is the first time I've noticed drones over my house. And I was in a restaurant in Monmouth County on Friday night. I had people at the bar coming up to me and saying, Governor Murphy. Oh, is this what? Governor Murphy. Oh, Governor Murphy won't tell me anything. The president won't tell me anything. Do you know? Well, I don't know. But I will tell you this. I think this is what happens in our society now, George, because we're used to having things so rapidly, if you don't fill that vacuum, then all the conspiracy theories get filled in there. You can't have conspiracy theories filling the space. But the Biden administration and state authorities have to be more vocal and let people know exactly what they're doing. I would want our state police to be able to have the authority to bring those drones down and find out why they're doing what they're doing. Of course, you would have to coordinate with the FAA, but we do that kind of coordination both when I was U.S. Attorney, as a law enforcement officer, and as governor all the time to be able to have shared authority. But the states do not have enough authority now to do what they need to do. What you're going to find, George, is you're going to have individuals acting as drone vigilantes, and they'll start taking them down. That's not what they want, because they're now an important part of commerce, and law enforcement uses them frequently for surveillance and other things. We need to be able to operate in a safe way, and we're not doing that. So there's your update on the drone situation. What is your thought? I mean, Joe Rogan, that video that he shared from TikTok, that's an interesting take, that is actually searching for something maybe dangerous, a bomb, something to that extent. That is one of the quote-unquote conspiracy theories that are being floated. I don't know, without getting any answers to Chris Christie. I don't normally agree with Chris Christie, but he raises a good point. Without that information, it creates these conspiracy theories, and maybe it gets a little unhealthy. So we need to have answers, and we need them soon. When we come back, we're going to talk, maybe we'll talk about George Stephanopoulos, just to kind of get that out of the way. But very interesting what's happening there. So we have a couple of news updates, then a couple of New York State updates. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. As I said, I'll tell you a little bit later on how we did on the Salvation Army telethon. In the final count, we got the count a little ahead of time from where we thought we would, so we're excited about that, to pass that along to you. And I know I heard from a lot of people, because they love the music so much, I do want to remind you that the Crystal Chords will be having a holiday concert. It's Tuesday, tomorrow, at 7 p.m. Performances by Corning Brassworks, Crystal Chords Chorus, quartets, and guests. And that's at the First United Methodist Church, 1034 West Broad Street in Horseheads. Admission is free, and all donations go to the food bank of the Southern Tier. And we know the amazing job they did on our telethon and the great songs that they sent us. So if you want to see them live and in person, you can see them tomorrow. All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It easily blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, soap, mildew, mold, and more. Forget harsh chemicals. With just plain water, Horsepower can clean bathroom tiles and tubs back to their original shine and luster. It's a game changer in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud. Take it outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. How strong is Horsepower? We took this distressed 100-year-old antique and restored it to like new with Horsepower. Amazing! Get your Ruby Horsepower scrubber today with bonus scouring sponge for just $39.99. Save on buying batteries. It's powered with the latest rechargeable technology. But wait, you'll also get this stainless steel brush to make range hoods and gas stoves look brand new again. Yours free. And we're not done. You'll get this Smart Flex cone brush that fits perfectly into corners, tiny crevices on toilets and tiles, or hard to reach shower door rails. Yours free. And to top it off, we'll include this microfiber cloth to clean delicate surfaces and polish cars sparkling clean. It's also free. Great news! Horsepower is now in stock and ready to ship, but due to high demand, there is a strict limit of 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-4241. That's 1-800-980-4241, or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-4241 now.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, it's haunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. Comment from a viewer. The government needs to come clean and tell the public definitively what the drones are doing, or at the very least, a clear picture of one or who they belong to. I've heard reports in some states that they seem to be spraying something. Thank you very much. Yeah, no information given. I know it's a very hot topic. Many people are talking about it, and rightfully so. Very scary. At first, there was questions of whether or not it would be Iran or perhaps China. China does things like this very often. I believe the government does know. I don't believe they're telling us, and that creates quite a conspiracy theory, doesn't it? Quite a lot of conspiracy theories. Even that state senator saying the same. Hey, by the way, did you see... Maybe over the weekend, there's so much news going on, the drones, things that Donald Trump has been saying. Did you see he mentioned on Truth Social that he wants to end daylight savings time and will work with Republicans to make standard time permanent when he takes office? With his post calling daylight savings time very costly to our nation, Trump waded into the seemingly never-ending debate over the benefits and drawbacks of switching the clocks twice a year. More than 6 in 10 Americans want the clocks to stop falling back and springing forward altogether. 6 in 10, according to a Monmouth University poll. Attempts were made in 2022 and 23 to make daylight savings time permanent, the opposite of what Trump wants, but both bills stalled out in Congress. That's just a quick update on a story that comes up quite frequently, ending daylight savings time. Your thought? Would you like to see the end of it? I think most people, well, 6 in 10 do. All right, George Stephanopoulos and ABC have been forced to apologize to Trump and give him $15 million to settle a defamation suit. The settlement was publicly filed on Saturday, revealing that the two parties have come to an agreement and avoided a costly trial. ABC News will pay $15 million as a charitable contribution to a, quote, presidential foundation and museum to be established by or for the plaintiff, as President of the United States of America have established in the past. Additionally, the network will pay $1 million in Trump's attorney fees. Stephanopoulos and ABC News also had to issue statements of regret as an editor's note at the bottom of a March 10, 2024 online article about comments made earlier this year that prompted Trump to file the defamation lawsuit. The note reads, quote, ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week back on March 10th, 2024. ABC News says they are pleased to have concluded the case. We are pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit on the terms in the court filing, said ABC News spokesperson. Trump filed a defamation suit against Stephanopoulos after he asserted that Trump was found, quote, liable for rape in a civil case during a contentious interview with Representative Nancy Mace. After playing a clip of Mace discussing being a victim of rape, Stephanopoulos asked her, how do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw? You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and 2 separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape, Stephanopoulos said. He repeated the claim 10 times during the, you could say it's kind of an angry interview with Mace, despite the fact that a jury actually determined Trump was liable for, quote, sexual abuse, which has a distinct definition under New York law. After the federal jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse but not rape, Judge Lewis Kaplan wrote in a later ruling that just because Carroll failed to prove rape within the meaning of the New York penal law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people commonly understand the word. Initially, Stephanopoulos was defiant in the face of the lawsuit, telling CBS's Stephen Colbert that he wouldn't be cowed out of doing my job because of a threat. Trump sued me because I used the word rape, even though a judge said that's in fact what did happen. We filed a motion to dismiss. The settlement came after U.S. Magistrate Judge Lizette Reed ordered Trump and Stephanopoulos on Friday to sit for deposition the next week ahead of the December 24th deadline for the defendants to file a motion for summary judgment in order to avoid a trial. Now, George Stephanopoulos did not mention the ABC News settlement during his Sunday program. News of the settlement failed to appear on ABC's This Week. Instead, Stephanopoulos focused on stories about unidentified drones over New Jersey, ongoing conflicts in Syria, and Trump's cabinet picks. Stephanopoulos was the focus of that lawsuit, as you know. Now, liberals are unloading on ABC because of this settlement, saying that they bent the knee and they kissed the ring. It seems to me that with that language, with that quotation, ABC actually had a very strong case but chose to settle. A settlement is not an admission of liability, it is instead an agreement to end the matter in the best interest of both parties. But they are agreeing to issue this statement of regret, which is not exactly an apology. But I do worry about the effect this could have on others and the chilling effect it might have on people who otherwise would be critical of Donald Trump, said MSNBC's legal analyst Barbara McQuaid. I got to think that the ABC boardroom was involved in this decision somehow, said LA Times legal columnist Harry Littman, again on MSNBC. And my big worry, to put a finer point on what Barb is saying, is somehow being caught up in the fact that he will be president soon. So how the boardroom affected the legal room here, I hope we will learn. But given the timing, he is on a roll that is really unsettling in terms of public confidence in the criminal justice system and media confidence. And who is left after the media to tell the truth? That he will come after them, make their lives miserable, and it has been successful so far. This seems quite targeted, and I don't think George Stephanopoulos was wrong. I'm sorry, said Simone Sanders. One Twitter user saying, knee bent, ring kissed. Another legacy news outlet chooses obedience. Wow. Now, several liberals have started posting on Blue Sky, an app similar to X, following the election. We know that they want to be in their bubbles surrounded by like-minded people. They can't hear anybody with a difference of opinion. So they are creating their own space where they can feel safe. First, the LA Times, then the Washington Post, and now ABC News. They're all falling to Donald Trump. When George Stephanopoulos said Trump raped E. Jean Carroll, he was using the word colloquially. Trump was found liable of sexually assaulting her, said USA Today opinion columnist on Bluesky. Justin Bargona, a former Daily Beast reporter who now writes for The Independent, wrote, this sets a worrisome precedent, and that ABC News had, in fact, caved. But ordinarily, in defamation cases, you have to prove that the person was defamed and that there was actual malice and that the gist of the story was inaccurate. In addition, you have to show the person's reputation was harmed in this way. It seems that ABC had a very strong case here, and yet they sort of caved anyway. And I think it sends a bad signal to other media enterprises. It might have a chilling effect or self-censoring effect on the media as they cover the Trump administration. Of course, a vigorous free press is essential to any administration, even more so in one where Donald Trump has vowed to go after his enemies. Unbelievable. They didn't seem to worry so much about having a a vigorous free press when it came to Biden. Of course, we've talked about this extensively, and now they blame Biden for it, but they were covering up his mental decline for 3.5 years, having no problem just praising him, not highlighting some of the real concerns people had over his mental capacity. So this idea that a free press, we need a free press. Well, why didn't we need it for the last 4 years? Why didn't we need it for the 107 days that Harris was running her candidacy? It's interesting when you need a free press, and now it's because Trump has vowed to go after his enemies. But ABC having to issue that statement of regret. Another big win for President-elect Donald Trump. A Trump spokesperson has declined to comment. The settlement wasn't signed on Friday. Wow, another big win for President-elect Donald Trump. Now, according to the New York Post editorial board, Trump let ABC off easy in settling for just $16 million over George Stephanopoulos' blatant defamation. We're going to talk about that when we come back, wrap up our discussion on the media. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We're just getting started here, just getting warmed up on Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Hi, I'm Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back with Frankly Speaking. Thank you for all the waves this morning, all the comments as well. So as the Post editorial board said, make no mistake, Trump let ABC off easy. It only had to pay $15 million towards his future presidential library, plus $1 million for his lawyer's fees to get out of a defamation lawsuit he was sure to lose. It was sure to lose, ABC was sure to lose. And so avoid legal discovery that surely would have finished off whatever reputation ABC's news division still has left. The defamation came from George Stephanopoulos, as I've already went through the history there. Backed by a biased judge, Carroll was able to get the Manhattan jury to declare that a preponderance of evidence suggested he had abused her. But the jurors stipulated that even by the thin preponderance standard, she had not proved rape. And for what it's worth, her whimsical reflection on how she'd spent her defamation award money didn't strike many viewers as how a rape victim would respond, even decades after the fact. The judge, Lewis Kaplan, later talked about Carol how Henna actually failed to prove rape, as defined by dictionary.com, but only as New York law defines it. A clear parting bid to make the decision as useful as possible for anti-Trump electioneering. But that left Stephanopoulos, or whoever writes his scripts, zero factual basis for his multiple overheated claims about Trump being, and I quote, liable for rape. The ABC host, incidentally, was a career Democrat operative before he became a journalist. And a lot of people may not realize that, but of course, Stephanopoulos worked for the Clintons. It's really amazing when you see him being presented as a unbiased news person. The law gives even public figures some rights against such public smears. If the case had proceeded, Trump's legal team would have been able to access ABC News' internal communications in order to prove the network's reckless attitude towards the truth. Trump was actually quite magnanimous in not making ABC pay him the settlement, even if the deal makes the company by far the largest donor to the Trump library. Inevitably, the usual suspects will twist their hands over this settlement, being an ominous sign of the media rolling over for the vindictive pres-elect. That's nonsense. Corporations like ABC and its parent company, Disney, don't make such payouts unless they think they're avoiding far worse if the case actually moves ahead. The settlement came right as Stephanopoulos was about to be deposed, and so prove exactly what kind of journalist he is. Far from vindictive, Trump has been rising above baiting by dim network news people. Notably, he kept calm despite near constant carping from NBC's Kristen Welker this month, getting his message out above her head. It's an attitude that serves the president-elect well. Another sign that he's firmly focused on the tasks ahead and on really getting even with his enemies by delivering for the American people, by being successful. And that's what we've been saying for quite some time. So ABC News and George Stephanopoulos agreed to apologize to Trump and pay $16 million in that settlement. Speaking of failing news networks, MSNBC and CNN are fighting to dig out of a post-election rating hole. We know that MSNBC's really been down in the dumps since election because, remember, they have this, and we talked about this actually with former Congressman Joe Simpolinski a couple of weeks ago. When you rant and rave about how bad Trump is and how it's going to be the end of the world, and that doesn't come to fruition, and of course your candidate loses, some people are just wanting to turn off MSNBC, and it's created quite a ratings drop. Ratings for the number 2 and number 3 cable news network have plummeted since Trump's victory, while Fox News remains the clear leader. Cable news loyalists have grown a lot less loyal to MSNBC and CNN, while viewers are flocking to Fox News in the wake of Donald Trump's election win last month. Ratings for MSNBC and CNN have tumbled. The declines are far worse than what happened the last time Trump won in 2016. MSNBC averaged 603,000 primetime viewers from the day after the election through December 8th, down by more than half from the network's year-to-date average through the election. CNN was down, ready for this, 46% to 401,000 viewers. Meanwhile, Fox News was up 12%, averaging about 2.7 million viewers. MSNBC and CNN both reported dips for the month following the 2016 election, but they weren't nearly as steep. CNN's drop was off a higher baseline. Partisan viewers turned away in disgust when the other side having the post-election euphoria, said Jonathan Dunway, a political science professor and research director at Syracuse University. Dunway said Democrats and Republicans grow disenchanted with the media and society when their candidates lose. After Biden won in 2020, Fox News' primetime viewership fell by 6%. Following Obama's 2012 win against Mitt Romney, Fox News primetime viewership was down 13%. A ratings rebound is possible once Trump is inaugurated if steps he takes rile up liberal viewers enough to bring them back in front of the TV. I like how it's just accepted that CNN and MSNBC are liberal. That happened in 2016 when this type of resistance viewing fueled a ratings surge for MSNBC that lasted through Trump's first term, with the pandemic providing further tailwinds. Executives at MSNBC are confident there will be a repeat of that dynamic in January, according to people familiar with the matter. Viewers will likely start coming back when there is action, said Christine Bellatona, who runs the media center at the University of Southern California. The cable landscape changed dramatically in the past 8 years as Americans cut the cable TV cord at an accelerated pace. Cable audiences as a whole have shrunk, but news channels remain very profitable for their parent companies. MSNBC will anchor a new cable company. The owner, Comcast, plans to spin off next year. It had a solid year in the lead up to the election. It had nabbed the number 2 spot in the ratings from CNN. MSNBC also beat CNN on election night for the first time, garnering 6 million primetime viewers. Fox News has consistently been the ratings winner. So there you are. That's just a quick update on the media. It does not surprise me that you're seeing that plummeting in ratings on the far left MSNBC and CNN. And especially when you have people like Joe Scarborough going to visit with Trump after the horrible things that he said about Trump. So it's pretty, I could see where a lot of people would turn, if you're on the left, would turn from them just for that decision alone. But we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
The holiday season has arrived, a time where more than ever our thoughts turn gratefully to those who serve our community and those all around us. May the holiday season end the present year on a cheerful note and make way for a fresh and bright new year. Here's wishing you a happy holidays. This holiday greeting is brought to you by our friends at Tom South Corning Collision, Sheddon's Wholesale, Suburban Propane, Corning Building Company, Empire Bricks, Hector Wine Company, and Apple Ridge Senior Living.
Hot tubs, hot tubs, hot tubs. Final 4 days of the year at Hesselson's Arnott Mall location near Center Court this Thursday through Sunday. No reasonable offer refused. Plus, 0% interest-free financing options for up to 60 months. And free delivery and takeaway of your old hot tub. Save $1,000, $3,000, even $5,000 off Hesselson's already low prices on their American Whirlpool hot tubs and swim spas. Why wait? Everything must be sold. Come in early for the best selection and start making every day better. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, taunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A comment from a viewer. Frank, I heard on Meet the Depressed yesterday, thank you, this is Ken, by the way, thank you, that the Dems are saying that the Republicans are pressuring the holdouts in their party with possible primarying them if they don't confirm Trump's candidates. I find it comical that the Dems are complaining about Republicans doing what the Democrats are notorious for. Isn't that interesting, Ken? Yes, they are upset. And the same with their loyalty pledge to Donald Trump, as if he doesn't want people loyal to him in his cabinet. But yes, doing the same thing Democrats do, and they are furious. Hey, we have a couple of New York updates that I wanted to get to quickly. Governor Kathy Hochul says lawmakers may need to be more realistic when it comes to implementing the state's All-Electric Buildings Act. The law would require most new buildings starting in 2026 to use all-electric heat and appliances instead of fossil fuels such as natural gas. Home builders have expressed concern about the added cost of going all-electric. Governor Hochul said, "We have a moral responsibility to do everything we can to transition to clean, renewable energy. But I also know the pandemic disturbed so much in the supply chain and with manufacturing, whether it's home heating pumps or it's electric vehicles. So I need to be working closely with the legislature and say we are not walking back from our aspirations and our goals, but I have to do it in a way that makes sense." Now, the New York State Legislature returns for its 6-month session on January the 8th, and we'll be talking with somebody been Phil Palmisano soon about the budget and what Governor Hochul is proposing. Now, last week we brought to you the story about Governor Cuomo's accuser dropping the case against him, but continues the case against New York. A curious thing just happened in the sexual harassment lawsuit against former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Accuser Charlotte Bennett just dropped her claims against Cuomo despite continuing with litigation against the state over the alleged conduct of Cuomo. And we learned about this last week that he had spent, $28 or $29 million on these cases, and we have been paying for that. It's not, he didn't pay for it. That's taxpayers' dollars. $28 million going to his defense. And and I'm paraphrasing here, but Charlotte Bennett's point, she was saying, he's using the taxpayer dollars to go after me. He has an unlimited war chest to go after me and try to defame me and try to destroy me. And it's true. While the state has its own obligation as an employer, it is at odd that you would drop the claim against the alleged actor himself. That is like dropping your product liability claim against Tesla while suing the electric company for powering the car. A significant number of women alleged sexual harassment against the former governor. They previously gave evidence in criminal investigations and spoke to state and federal investigators. However, in 2022, Albany County District Attorney Dave Soares dropped a criminal complaint against Cuomo for lack of evidence. Later, 5 additional criminal cases were dropped. He has been facing pending civil litigation over the allegation of sexual harassment for years. The state is reportedly paying Cuomo's legal fees. Yes, not the state, you and I, folks. The strange profile of the litigation with this withdrawal may reflect the strikingly different interests of the legal teams representing Cuomo versus the state. Bennett was the second of several former aides to accuse Cuomo of sexual harassment. She complained that Cuomo was harassing her with invasive demands of her medical records and pursuing testimony from friends. However, when you accuse someone of being a sexual harasser, such discovery is not just expected, but often essential for the defense. The defense took a victory lap while responding to rumors of a settlement in the making with the state and noted that the move came shortly before Bennett would appear for deposition. The deposition was expected to be brutal, including questions raised by videotapes in which Bennett calls Cuomo amazing and wonderful to work with. The defense has also cited prior allegations against others that were later dropped. The settlement talk could amplify the different interests of the two legal teams. The state team is answerable to Governor Kathleen Hochul, who may have an interest in not only killing the case, but also creating a record of a settlement over the allegations. Her office previously settled with the Biden administration over federal claims. So it is getting, and this is Jonathan Turley, who does such a good job. He said, I previously expressed concern of fairness and due process for Cuomo in that case and how the settlement was being portrayed. The dropping of the case may undermine negotiations with the state unless they've reached an undisputed agreement. Between the settlement with the federal government and settlements with these accusers, Cuomo may be left without any adjudication on specific claims that he wants to clear his name. Such settlements create a stain of presumptive guilt for many. The only thing that is clear in that case against Andrew Cuomo, that it seems to get curiouser and curiouser by the day. All right, let's take our last break of this hour. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. Yeah, I know we've covered a lot this morning. We're jumping all around, and I appreciate you being a part of the program. In the next hour, I will let you know how the Salvation Army Telethon went. That was on Friday. If you missed it, and if you missed it, you missed a great one. It is online. It is on YouTube. You can watch it. The full thing, listen to the amazing music from the Crystal Chords, from Doc Possum, see all our special guests. But they counted it early. Originally, the count was going to come in tonight, and I would let you know tomorrow. But they were kind of like me. They couldn't wait. They were too anxious. So they counted it Friday evening, and I got the call around 6:30. Did we make that $5,000? Will it be matched? How much will be matched? You'll have to stay with us to find out. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
In the last 18 months, Bath Planet has given away 3 dream bathroom makeovers, and now it's your turn. It's our absolute pleasure to announce Dream Bathroom Giveaway 4. On March 3rd, one local family is going to get a dream bathroom makeover for free. Whether you want a tub to lounge or a walk-in shower for accessibility, Bath Planet is excited to give away our 4th free bathroom makeover. Enter now by scanning the QR code or stopping by either of our 2 locations.
Sheldon and Missy
face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio, wrapping up our number one. And as I said, we'll have those numbers for you on how we did for the Salvation Army of Corning telethon on Friday. If you didn't miss it, you can find it on YouTube. There's an interesting piece about a story that we brought to you last week, and that is Daniel Penny. Now, Daniel Penny was at the Army-Navy game over the weekend with Trump and J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth. Well, the acquittal last Monday of former Marine Daniel Penny is a blow to Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. The jury came to the common-sense judgment that Penny was justified in subduing a threatening vagrant, Jordan Neely, on a subway last May. Worse for Bragg is that his office's own bizarre action may have tipped the jury in Penny's favor. The jury of 7 women and 5 men heard almost 5 weeks worth of arguments and evidence and deliberated for almost a week. And it ultimately came to a sound verdict on one of 2 charges. Penny had not acted in a criminally negligent way that led to Neely's death. But a puzzle remains. Why did the jury deadlock on the stronger count, manslaughter, with his potential 15-year sentence, before acquitting on the weaker count, with his 4-year possible sentence? Logic dictates that if Penny wasn't found guilty of the weaker count, he must not be guilty of the stronger count. So what changed the jury's thinking between the Friday deadlock and Monday acquittal? One answer. Bragg's office made it clear before the intervening weekend that the trial was a sham. Put yourself in a juror's position. Counting 2 weeks of jury selection, you've been in court 7 weeks, and you're enduring autopsy photos and complex medical testimony. You've done this because you've been told since day one how important this case is. But then the prosecutor, ADA Daphne Yoren, asked you personally, can you, if the evidence leads you to do so, convict this man of manslaughter? And during her closing argument, Yoren reminded you of this responsibility. I told you it would not be easy, she said, but you each said that you could find someone guilty of reckless killing of another person. Now, though, you've poured over this testimony in days of deliberation, asking for a readback of the medical examiner's testimony, asking to review videos, and asking the judge what reasonable means in the context of Penny's mindset. And you tell the judge you're deadlocked on the criminal manslaughter charge. Per the law, you can't consider a verdict on the lower charge until you come up with a verdict on the higher charge. The judge sends you back to try again. He warns if you cannot reach a unanimous agreement, a new trial will have to be scheduled before a different jury. You return and you say you're stuck. The judge sends you back in the jury room, then brings you back in the courtroom to tell you the manslaughter charge is dismissed. You're to go home, rest, and deliberate the lower charge on Monday. Because you're not in the room when the lawyer argue with each other, you don't know what the manslaughter charge was dismissed at the request of the prosecutor and over the objection of the defense. The defense is worried that dismissing the higher charge and resubmitting the lower charge signals to jurors that they should compromise, finding Penny guilty. But you know, the juror, they do know that the dismal stakes, that this makes no sense, In the case is that important as manslaughter is, the district attorney doesn't give up and go home. But in this case, though, the judge has said effectively, never mind. How important then really is the case if what you've been devoted the last 2 months to can instantly vanish with no explanation? Plus, during her closing argument, Yoren had told you that Penny might not go to prison. It is the judge who decides whether or not jail is warranted. You don't know that it's improper for her to say such a thing. But you might well wonder, what the heck are we here for? If the punishment might be a slap on the wrist, are we here just for show? After returning to court last Monday, it only took about an hour for the jury to render its not guilty verdict on the remaining count. Everything jurors presumably had deadlocked on, cause of death, Penny's state of mind, was magically fixed. One explanation is that jurors concluded, if the court isn't taking the top charge against Penny seriously, why should we weigh the bottom charge? The jury decided on acquittal based on the evidence. but it sure didn't hurt the defense that Bragg's office self-sabotaged a major trial in its last moments. That's Nicole Gelinas from Manhattan's Institute City Journal. I wanted to give you that update from a story that we brought to you last week. Stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 on the way with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Hustling plus overbooked plus bustling plus cleaning overlooked. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's. Relax. It's done. Plus too busy plus bustling plus in a tizzy. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's. Relax. It's done.
He's gambling by giving Nana's precious snow globe to his niece. Bob understands how to gift responsibly. He knows some gambles are too risky, like gifting a lottery ticket to anyone under 18. Studies show the earlier a person begins, the more likely they are to develop a gambling problem later in life. Better grab the glue, Bob. We all take risks in life. Just gift responsibly. To learn how you can gift responsibly this holiday season, visit playresponsiblyny.com.
The holiday season has arrived, a time where more than ever our thoughts turn gratefully to those who serve our community and those all around us. May the holiday season end the present year on a cheerful note and make way for a fresh and bright new year. Here's wishing you a happy holidays. This holiday greeting is brought to you by our friends at Tom South Corning Collision, Sheddon's Wholesale, Suburban Propane, Corning Building Company, Empire Bricks, Hector Wine Company, and Apple Ridge Senior Living.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. Wanted to say I enjoyed Friday's festive event once again. Thank you for all that you do and to all who participated and supported the Salvation Army. Well, thank you very much. What kind words. I'm going to let you know how much we raised right now. But yes, thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you to everybody who participated, everybody who donated. If you missed it on Friday, you didn't hear me talking about it leading up to Friday, we had a very generous donor, anonymous donor, who said that anything we raised on behalf of the telethon for the Salvation Army, anything up to $5,000 would be matched. So if we raised $1,000, it would be like we gave a check to the Salvation Army of $2,000. Now, we had heard from Major Anita that we were only at 18,000 so far in the Christmas season, and our goal was 40. I think she said 46,000 for the year. So obviously, if we could get to $5,000, meaning $10,000, that would be a really huge addition in reaching that goal. So I was really curious. I dropped off the kettle on Friday, and we were talking about the telethon and what a success it was. But having not known how much money was put in there, I had a lot of people stop in last week. We had a couple of online donations, which thank you again during the broadcast. So between the kettle, online, we raised, with the Frankly Speaking Salvation Army Telethon, the second annual Salvation Army Telethon, we raised $5,162.92. Now, that means, yes, we need to have some type of celebration here. We need to have, I wish I had some type of music that I could play. We'll do that. How about that? Celebration. We hit that $5,000 goal, even more so. So that means we now can give the Salvation Army $10,162.92. So $10,162.92. So thank you to everyone who made this such a huge success. I was nervous about it, and that's why I'm so glad the Salvation Army called in their volunteer counters early and said, "Hey, we're dying to know. Did we get to that 5,000? How far away were we?" You know, we were just so curious. And so to find out that we made $5,162.92, meaning that will be doubled. And you're probably saying, well, 92 cents, what a weird, someone just brought in their pocket change to your show? No, the good people at Brown Cigar Store here on Market Street, they saved up in the mini kettle like I have, and that probably was just someone's change from when they got some return change. So yes, thank you to everyone who made this such a huge success. Obviously, thank you to the anonymous donor, but thank you to all the donors, all the people that took part in the telethon, watched the telethon, said such kind words like that viewer, enjoying it. Yes, it was amazing for the Salvation Army. It was a huge success. They were over the moon when they called me on Friday. I was too. What a way to start off the weekend. I was then busy calling everybody and texting everybody and telling them that we did it, that we reached that goal. I wasn't sure if we would or not. You have no way. People putting in checks and putting in envelopes. So yes, look at all these nice comments and waves coming in. Yes, we were very excited that we reached that goal for the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army thanks everyone as well that participated. They were very, very excited when I talked to them on the phone, specifically Major Anita on Friday. Okay, now this is interesting. Many have said, what is Harris's next role? Kamala Harris. Some have said, because of the polling, that she maybe will run again for president, for whatever that's worth. I don't think there'll be much appetite for that in the Democrat Party because she did so poorly and it led to a Trump landslide. But who knows? She does have the most name recognition, but you should. When you spent $1.5 billion over 107 days, she should have name recognition. She should be number one on that poll. Well, President Joe Biden predicted that Harris will be a major party player despite her blowout election loss. This is while he was thanking campaign donors on Sunday. "You're not going anywhere, kid. We aren't letting you," Biden said to Harris during his remarks at the DNC holiday reception. The pair were joined by their spouses at the reception. Now, there are rumors that they're not really friendly right now, and you've seen that at the Kennedy Awards where they didn't speak to each other. Republicans clinched Election Day across the board, gaining the majority in the House and Senate on top of Donald Trump's White House victory. The sweeping loss has led to reckoning within the party as Democrats look to where they went wrong and what or who needs to change to appeal to the American people. I don't really believe they're doing that soul searching the way they should. We actually talked about this with former Congressman Joe Semplinsky a couple weeks ago because I asked the question, would they have the Romney moment? Because Republicans had it, I believe, and I blame it on Romney, but you could really call it the Jeb Bush moment. It was we kept being told as Republicans, the more moderate you pick, the better chance you have to win. And we kept losing. McCain's the only way we can win. Romney's the only way they can win. And then we saw these huge rallies with Trump, people really showing up. And all of a sudden they told us, no, the only person that can beat Hillary is Jeb Bush. And that's when Republicans had their moments and enough. What do we got to lose? Enough is enough. I don't know if Democrats will have that because the elites have picked for them their candidate how many times. Obviously, Bernie had no way of really winning. The fix was already in against Hillary and Biden. And then Kamala Harris, the elites picked her over Biden and ousted Biden. I don't know. When do Republicans say enough of these elitists who tell us the only way we can win is with their preferred candidate? I would be upset. I'd be really upset that we didn't get a say in the primary whatsoever. That Kamala Harris was just picked, not by the voter, because the voter actually picked Joe Biden on the Democrat Party, but not getting a say in who they picked. But we all get knocked down, said Biden. My dad would say that when you get knocked down, you just got to get up. The measure of a person or a party is how fast they get back up, Biden said. I'm not going to go through all the numbers. We know all the numbers. You rallied, you opened your homes, you reached out to your friends and your family, Harris said. You put your personal capital, and by that I mean your relationships, at stake to talk with people because you care so deeply and you connected with people and took the time to remind them of what is at stake and what was at stake. While Biden acknowledged the lasting burn many Democrats still feel following Trump's victory, he said they should nonetheless be proud of what they were to accomplish. We could never have gotten as much done as we did without you. You not only contributed to the campaign, but you did something, I think, even more important. You were willing to lend your names, your reputations, your character to the effort. Now, Harris debates her own future. Some are saying a run for California governor would take 2028 off the table. I can't imagine, even if she runs in 2028, I got to believe she's going to be primaried, and I don't think she wins that primary. Because if you recall, we were told that she wasn't a good candidate. They were even thinking of ousting her as a VP pick to make Biden's campaign more likable. So I don't see a scenario where she is the 2028 nominee, but perhaps. Top aides and people close to Kamala Harris are divided over whether she should head home to run for California governor in 2026. And it all comes down to whether they believe she could win the Democratic nomination for president in an expected competitive primary in 2028. Some believe a repeat run after quickly improving her reputation and raising more than $1 billion over her surprise 100-day race should be hers for the taking. Others worry that in a longer campaign against some other major Democrat contenders who already sat out 2024 in deference first to Joe Biden and then to her, Harris might fizzle out and follow her loss to Donald Trump with the humiliation of being rejected by her own party. The governor's race, meanwhile, looks like a layup. Harris was elected statewide 3 times and served 10 years combined as state attorney general and U.S. senator. And when asked by CNN, several major candidates made clear, either directly or through aides, that they would likely step aside if she got in. In CNN's conversation with over a dozen current and former Harris advisors and other top California Democrat players, the only consensus around the vice president is that she's likely can't do both, since that would essentially require launching a presidential campaign soon after being sworn in as governor. Getting into the governor's race, top Harris advisors believe would require making her intentions clear at the latest by the summer of 2025. That means Harris will need to decide very soon after Trump's inauguration if she will quickly give up on her dream of being president, which she feels got short shrift from the circumstances of this year, and instead go for a job that, while one of the most powerful in American politics, would clearly be a fallback. Harris would have to think of running for governor as, quote, more of a capstone than a stepping stone, said one person who had advised her in the past. If you're thinking of running for president in 2028, the worst thing you can do is run for governor in 2026. Running for governor would be a step down, and it would interfere with her ability to run for president again. I don't know if she's going to run for president again, but a shot at running for president again is worth giving up running for governor. Now, several people who have spoken with the vice president directly told CNN that she remains undecided herself, unsure how to channel feelings she has for now. Worked into stock lines like, you haven't seen the last of me, and I'm not going quietly into the night. More than one person has noticed she has not shut down the conversation when the topic of governor has come up. In the meantime, Harris has kept a noticeably low profile, appearing at just a handful of public events since her concession speech, while her thank you phone calls with donors and other supporters have often gone long, with tears on both ends, according to people familiar with the calls. She did host many staff from her office and from her campaign for a holiday party at the Naval Observatory this past Wednesday, and a smaller group of close friends and supporters for a black tie dinner on Friday night. On Tuesday, Harris will deliver a speech in Washington, in the suburbs, to high school and college students, as well as recent graduates and apprentices. A White House official, and that announcement said it will be a continuation of her broader future-focused leadership. So do you think Harris runs again for president if there's a primary? I don't think she wins, but I mean, a governor's nothing to sneeze at. They do think that if she enters, it would be a field-clearing event, meaning that she will be perhaps the only candidate. People close to Harris who want her to run for governor say that if she gets there, that is exactly why she would need to articulate a clear rationale for getting into the race that is both connected to the proposal of her presidential campaign and not just being anti-Trump. Yeah, that was pretty much her presidential run, right? Kamala Harris has deep respect and affection in California and substantive statewide experience to fix the problems in California with high rents and housing costs, homelessness, and crime, said California Representative Ro Khanna, a sometimes Harris skeptic who is looking at running for president herself in 2028. She would be formidable if she chooses to run. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We will be, maybe, right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Hot tubs. Final 4 days of the year at Hesselson's Arnott Mall location near Center Court this Thursday through Sunday. No reasonable offer refused. Plus, 0% interest-free financing options for up to 60 months. And free delivery and takeaway of your old hot tub. Save $1,000, $3,000, even $5,000 off Hesselson's already low prices on their American Whirlpool hot tubs and swim spas. Why wait? Everything must be sold. Come in early for the best selection and start making every day better. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, taunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is The Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Comment from Ken. I think if the Democrats plan going forward to pick the presidential candidates for their sheeple, back in 2020, Bernie was on track to be the nominee, and the Dems had him step back and kneel to Biden. Yeah, that's right. And the fix was in where he couldn't have won against Hillary in 2016 in the primary either, because they have signaled time and time again that they don't trust the American voter, but definitely their own voter, Democrat voters. They obviously don't trust a low information, propagandized sheeple to pick a winning candidate, but yet they keep picking losers. But that is a good point, Ken. Comment from a viewer. I must say that I'm not sorry that MSNBC, CNN, and others are losing viewers. I think that's a great thing. I will say that although I do watch Fox, it's not the same as it was. I think it's more fair and balanced than most, but I think they have changed somewhat, and I hope people see through some of the angle. I also think the polls on Fox have been really a bit off, but I will only take them with a grain of salt anyway. All right. Thank you very much. Next comment, or not a comment, excuse me. Interesting story here. Mitt Romney. I know, I don't normally quote Mitt Romney. Here's a guy who's really fallen into the trap of just nonstop attacks on Trump. But he eviscerated Democrats during a CNN appearance for losing their base, blaming none other than Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, calling them woke scolds. Democrats pushed them out, Romney said on State of the Union on Sunday. The Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren faction of the Democrat Party, with some of this defund the police, the biological males and women's sports, these things had a lot of people in the working class just flee the Democrat Party. Now, of course, Trump became the first Republican to win a popular vote for the presidency in 2 decades. The president-elect also notched the most robust support for minority voters of a Republican in decades. Many of the party's progressive wing have faulted the Democrats for shifting more to the center in the 2024 cycle and for not nominating populist Senator Bernie Sanders as the standard bearer in 2016. Well, I think there's a good argument that he should have been the nominee in 2016, but the fix was already in. And I would be curious to know how he would do against Trump. You got to remember at the time, he was packing in arenas, much like Trump. It would have been a much more interesting race. But continuing, Romney said, and one of the challenges in my party is that our policies do not necessarily line up with the interest of our voters. And so there'll be some reorientation. The Democrat Party, the one in trouble, I don't know how they recover. They've lost their base. Union guys and gals have left. The Democrat Party is seen not as rich people, but as college professors and woke scolds. Vice President Harris had seemingly abandoned many of her lefty positions from the 2020 cycle, such as banning fracking, decriminalizing illegal border crossings, and Medicare for all. She also worked to court Republican voters with party turncoats like Liz Cheney, which I still think was a huge tactical mistake on Harris's part. And ultimately, Trump swept all 7 battleground states. The Democrats have badly misread the direction of the country and the attitude of the country, said Romney. And President Trump took advantage of that as well as he should. MAGA is the Republican Party and predicted that J.D. Vance is most likely to win the GOP's presidential nod in 2028. The Beehive senator is not divulging whom he voted for in 2024, but he refrained from making an endorsement in the 2024 cycle, that meaning Romney, hoping that stay out of it could preserve some of his sway on the party going forward. Back in 2016, Romney had written in his wife and for president. The former 2012 GOP presidential nominee also suggested that Trump has a mandate heading into the new administration. He won overwhelmingly. He said what he was going to do, and that's what he's going to do. People are saying, oh, I don't like his appointments or this policy that he's talking about. But those are the things he said he was going to do when he ran. Romney admitted that Trump had tapped an unusual collection of individuals. They're certainly not the people I would have chosen. Well, you never had that opportunity to choose, did you, Mitt? Running that failed campaign. So Jake Tapper brought up how Trump had suggested members of the since-defunct House Select January 6th committee should go to jail in an interview that aired last week, as previously used language about targeting other political rivals. But despite their stark differences, Romney said he's not too worried about Trump going after him. No, actually, I've been pretty clean throughout my life. I'm not particularly worried about criminal investigations. I don't know how much, by the way, of what the president says is hyperbole. I think President Trump is likely to try and focus on the future. And I think he's right. I mean, if you look at it, this isn't his first time as president. I mean, they act as if he's going to go against everybody. Why wouldn't he have went after Hillary then, for instance, back when he was president? It's just a lot of hype. It's why they're doing these quote-unquote preemptive pardons that they're talking about. It's just to try to hype you up, scare you into thinking that Trump is going to be vindictive. But Romney's saying, I'm not sure history is written by winners in this case. Politics is written by the winners. But the history books are typically written by scholars of one kind or another. I think attacking the Capitol will be seen as being an abuse and a felony and being wrong. Romney announced his retirement last year, but stressed that he is not retiring from the fight. He'll be succeeded in the upper chamber by Senator-elect John Curtis. I don't think history will remember Mitt Romney. The outgoing senator reflected on his legacy. I want my family to remember me as someone who stood up for the things I believed in, was not embarrassed by my fundamental beliefs, who loved the country and did what I believed was right. So that's Mitt Romney on his way out the door. We've got to take a short break, but there's an interesting point to this by Victor Davis Hanson. And as you look at the kind of the regrouping of the Democrat Party and where is Harris going to go, perhaps run for governor, maybe run again in 2028, what are Republicans going to do? Like Romney said, most likely to be J.D. Vance will get the nomination in 2028, barring some unforeseen problem with the Trump administration. But we said on the day after the election, many were saying that Trump's landmark victory was the end of the old era, the Obama era, end of Obama being in control, essentially, of the Democrat Party. I don't know if that is the case, but that is what many on the left are saying. So we're going to talk about that because Victor Davis Hanson has a piece out that says, blame Barack. Obama's lost mystique marks the end of a political era. Do you think this is maybe a little bit premature or maybe a little bit overhyped, or do you believe this is the end of the Obama era with Trump's second victory, this time, of course, in 2024, another 4 years of Donald J. Trump defeating Harris? Now, in Obama's defense, it was speculated anyway, so take it with a grain of salt, that he actually wanted, when Biden stepped down, to have, I think it was Mark Kelly, to run. He had some other people. He did not want Harris. And if you recall, it took him, I think, 5 days before he actually endorsed her. So I don't know if you could call it an end to his era, but I'd like to get your thoughts on it. But right now we do have to take a short break, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
In the last 18 months, Bath Planet has given away 3 dream bathroom makeovers, and now it's your turn. It's our absolute pleasure to announce Dream Bathroom Giveaway 4. On March 3rd, one local family is going to get a dream bathroom makeover for free. Whether you want a tub to lounge or a walk-in shower for accessibility, Bath Planet is excited to give away our 4th free bathroom makeover. Enter now by scanning the QR code or stopping by either of our 2 locations.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Give them a call today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hasselson studio. If you are just joining us and did not hear the big announcement, Friday's telethon did reach its goal. Our goal was $5,000, so it would be doubled by that unanimous donor. And that's exactly what happened. We reached $5,162.92, meaning that we will be presenting the Salvation Army with $10,162.92. So thank you to everybody who made that such a big success, not just from your donations, but also with the music and the participants and interviews. So I appreciate it. So Victor Davis Hanson says, blame Barack. Barack Obama has long been rumored as the catalyst for the 2020 Joe Biden nomination, and thereafter played the whispering puppeteer behind the subsequent lost Biden administration years. As such, he has proved the virtual architect of the Biden administration, one of the most unpopular and failed presidencies in American history. Recall earlier that after a flailing candidate, Biden lost the first 3 primaries, 2020, that's the 2020 primaries, and caucuses, his inert campaign was headed nowhere. And that's a little bit to what Ken was talking about when it really, most people thought it was going to be Bernie. Obama and fellow Democrat insiders abruptly engineered the withdrawal of his rival 2020 presidential candidates. Hard left, but likely sure loser candidates, including Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Pete Buttigieg. The Obamas ignored or withheld from the public their own firsthand knowledge that Biden was suffering from signs of dementia. Instead, they found Biden's cognitive decline and his former concocted reputation as working man Joe useful as a veneer for an Obama third term, a kind of a phone-it-in administration. Or, as wistful Obama once conditioned his dreams of a third term, if I could make an argument where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in. The Obamanites that got their wish for 4 years of enacting hard left directives they could only have dreamed of while in actual power. But their radical menu since 2021 has divided and nearly wrecked the nation. Hyperinflation, 12 million illegal aliens, a ruined border, spiraling crime, a shattered foreign policy of appeasement, the popular backlash against DEI, woke, and trans issues, partisan lawfare, and weaponization of the government. And the ruling radicalism beneath the Biden facade eventually cost the Democrats nearly everything, the presidency, the House, and the Senate. An inert Biden is departing office with a 36% favorability rating in recent Emerson polls. His Democrat nominee replacement, losing presidential candidate Vice President Harris, also has virtually vacated her office with 40 days left of her tenure. Failed candidate Harris has been roundly faulted by staffers and donors for blowing through some $2 billion in assorted 2024 campaign money in 107 days, folks. Think of that. She ended up doing worse against Trump than Biden himself had in 2020. Many Democrats believe that they may have done just as well had Biden stayed on the ticket, even in his vastly diminished state. The Obamas were further blasted for nullifying the wishes of 14 million primary voters by forcing Biden off the ticket. Ironically, in the same back room, anti-democratic matter, they had cleared the way for him back in 2020. Obama emerged from his comfortable retirement to hit the 2024 campaign trail, schooling the country that Donald Trump was a dictator, a fascist, a tyrant, and of course a racist. The more Trump pulled even with or ahead of Harris, the more an exasperated and ignored Obama talked down to supposedly low information voters. But by the time Harris lost the election, voters had turned out a nagging and patronizing Obama and his stale, now dated hope and change boilerplate speeches. What Obama did not mention, but what the voters knew, was that the border was more secure under Trump than during either Obama or Biden. Russian President Vladimir Putin invaded countries during the Obama and Biden administrations, but stayed put on Trump's watch. Obama's bizarre version of a new Middle East had sought to empower Iran as a supposed counterweight against moderate Arab nations and our ally Israel. Years ago, Obama invited the Russians into Syria, empowered dictatorial Syria, berated Israel nonstop, and all but ignored the violence of Iran's surrogate terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. But after October 7th, Israel retaliated to the mass slaughter of Jewish civilians with all-out war against Hamas and Hezbollah, rendering these once feared terrorists nearly impotent. In an exchange of air attacks with Iran, Israel showed the world that Iran was a military weak as its chanting and threats were tiresome and shrill. Iran is now on the brink as its terrorist appendages, including most recently the Assad dynasty, are melting away. Israel and the moderate Arab regimes are as well ascending as the entire crazy Obama envisioned Middle East agenda evaporates. The 2024 Democratic campaign and the Trump Electoral College and popular vote victories, combined with record defections of Hispanic and African American voters from the Democrat Party to Trump, proved a resounding rejection of the Obama legacy and his surrogates' left-wing visions. Yet after the people spoke in the election, the more Obama whined, the democracy itself had failed him. Voters who disagreed with him were written off as racist and sexist. Obama again harped that constituents did not know what was good for them. And then the disappointed former community organizer suddenly disappeared, pondering to which of his own 4 mansions his private jet would fly him home to commiserate. So that's Victor Davis Hanson. I thought you would find that interesting. So we've got to take a short break. I don't want to run too long. Oh, we got a lot of comments coming in. Interesting. Hey, Frank. Hey there, Sergeant Dave. Thanks for joining us. What do you think about Biden trying to sabotage Trump's agenda and his mass pardons? Yeah, you're right. Especially when it comes to illegal immigration. Some of the steps he's made there, the pettiness doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me one bit that they're going after Trump's agenda. He'll just have to work harder to get them through. All right. We got some other comments coming in. We got to take a short break, though. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please. Stay with us.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
Shop and compare. Shop and compare. Shop and compare. Shop and compare.
Times may change, but one thing stays the same.
Shop and compare.
You won't find a better deal. Guaranteed.
Shop and compare.
Come sit and sleep shop in Corning. Shop and compare.
Wow, you found it. I did. The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, taunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September. I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, taunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
The Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Give them a call for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from Ken. Do you think the Democrats and legacy media will learn anything from their loss? I don't think so. We mentioned this with Joe Sempolinsky because I thought they would have that soul-searching moment. They have not seemed to. They seem to be headed right down the same path. And to continue with what Ken had to say, I think they are committed to the path that they've been on for years. They can't wrap their head around the idea that their plans for the country aren't embraced by everyone and firmly believe it's their path to power and wealth. Yes, I mean, that's why they considered Trump supporters garbage, or like Hochul said, you're anti-American, anti-woman if you vote Republican. They just, and much to that point we were talking about with Obama lecturing the American voter because they're not smart enough to understand how superior the Democrat Party is. But continuing with what Ken had to say, when Trump won in 2016, they doubled down on the attacks to demonize Trump and scare the electorate. But that Trump has now won decisively, I think they will triple down on their attacks. Like a zebra, the Democrats can't change their stripes. I would agree. I think they are going to double down on the attacks. I don't know to what level they'll be, but I don't see the media just rolling over for 4 years. So I would agree with you. Now, the Washington Post says that Joe Biden is leaving office not with a bang, but with a resentful whimper. The op-ed by Cleve R. Woodson Jr. is headlined, Biden touts his legacy, but frustration seeps through. It looks back over Biden's years in office and posits that for all his ambitions, the Biden legacy will be shallow and marked more by bitter disappointment than overarching achievement, made evident since his own party asked him to step down from re-election. The anger, regrets, and misgivings that colored Biden's last months before his party pushed him out were evident for all even before Harris was anointed. Quote, at times Biden's frustrations, even resentments, have seeped through, the piece states clearly. He has lamented that he did not put his name on pandemic stimulus checks so voters could better connect him with the country's economic rebound. He has talked about his successful efforts to sidestep a recession and worried aloud that Donald Trump would take credit for the humming economy he'll inherit. And he fired a challenge at Republicans who attacked his record to gain control of the White House and Congress. Let's see if you actually hate my programs as much as you say. Despite that mixture of bravado and political intent, he now joins a list of presidents limited to a single term, and his chosen successor was decisively defeated. The piece argues there are some historians who follow the president who say anger has always been at Biden's side when he feels underestimated. And those moments have been unmistakable because Biden has lived down to estimations more times than not. Quote, there has always been the issue of resentment with Biden. He resented Obama and crew for supplementing him in 2008 and for telling him not to run in 2016. And he has many other resentments. But can you imagine how resentful he is of the shifting narrative and the way he's been pushed aside and manipulated and not treated fairly? So, yeah, I could see him being resentful. Yeah, and you've got to look at now, as they propped him up for 3.5 years and ignored his health, now they're saying he waited too long to get out. So now they're making him the fall guy. And we've talked about this quite frequently on the program, so we don't need to get back into it. But they are making him the fall guy. You know there has to be some resentment there from Biden. And we know that when Harris was running, they didn't like the fact that she did not kind of hitch her wagon to him as much as they thought she should. Troy, the name, it's Tevi Troy, a presidential historian, said Biden was seen as the guy who beat Trump and who put us back on the path to normality. And he was the hero to the Democrats. But when Trump wins a second time, Biden is seen as too old and not fully up to snuff by the end. He's the one who enabled Trump's return. Trump, meanwhile, will probably go down as one of the most consequential politicians of the 21st century. He's one of the 15 people who've served 2 terms, which puts him in elite company. Those are the ones who we talk about. All the ones who are part of the historical conversation are the 2-termers. The 1-termers are the ones who are largely forgotten. So that Biden, according to the Washington Post, is leaving office not with a big bang, but resentful whimper. Now, Martin Gurry says it's a new age of politics going on throughout the world, not just here in the United States. On November 5th, Donald Trump, having risen like a zombie from the political grave and barely survived being well and truly assassinated, decisively defeated Kamala Harris in the U.S. presidential election. This was more than a loss for the Democrats. It was the overthrow of, quote, our democracy, a regime that felt so virtuous and scientific that expected to last forever. 2 days later, the German government collapsed, supposedly over disagreement about the budget, but really because the principals couldn't stand each other. On December 3rd, the president of North Korea, locked in a political struggle with the opposition majority in parliament, tried to gain the upper hand by the clever use of declaring martial law. It didn't work. Within 24 hours, martial law was undeclared by the legislature, and the sitting president abruptly found he had a lot of explaining to do. 2 days later, the French government collapsed because you probably guessed it. It failed to come up with a budget that didn't incite car-burning riots in the streets of Paris. The French have already had their election. It is an unusual twist on democracy. Macron asked all the losers to form a government and kept the winners out. This is just kind of a look at everything that's been happening and what we're seeing within the world, not just here in the United States. On December 7th, the reborn Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris opened its doors to the public once again after a devastating 2019 fire that nearly gutted that significant structure. The mighty of the earth attended the opening ceremonies, which predictably bizarre interactions. Trump and Macron arm wrestling for a long and awkward minute. Jill Biden appeared to make googly eyes at Trump. Fortunately, none of that mattered. The resurrection of Notre Dame is a triumph of the spirit. Here is an ancient monument, ushering with loving care into our turbulent time. Here is a jewel of Gothic Christianity that still sparkles in the digital age. Beyond the powerful politicians and soaring music, Catholic aspirations, and French pride, we beheld a glorious piece of the old ancestral culture shining like a beacon to the new history. History, we should always remember, gives more than it takes away. I thought that was an interesting piece. We're going to take a look because we've been talking about Harris and her role and also Biden's role in it and Obama's role. But there's also something to look at here, which is a good point that Tim Walz over the weekend. We got a couple things here about Bernie, a few things here about Trump. Oh, did you hear? What are your thoughts on this? Trump is eyeing privatizing the United States Postal Service. President-elect Donald Trump has expressed interest in taking the U.S. Postal Service private as a federal agency hemorrhages billions of dollars, according to a new report. He's discussed the issue with Howard Lutnick, his pick for Commerce Secretary at Mar-a-Lago. The Washington Post reported, citing 3 people with knowledge of the matter. After learning of the agency's annual financial losses, Trump said the government should not be responsible for subsidizing the Postal Service, he said. The Postal Service lost an astounding $9.5 billion during the fiscal year ending September 30th, up from a loss of $6.5 billion the previous year. The agency, which had a total operating revenue of nearly $80 billion, blamed its financial bleeding on non-cash contributions to workers' compensations. Privatizing the federal agency could send shockwaves across the shipping industry, affecting small businesses in rural communities, in addition to potentially gutting hundreds of thousands of federal jobs. It could also have drastic effects on the e-commerce industry, with companies like Amazon relying on the Postal Service for last-mile delivery between their fulfillment centers and customer homes or businesses. Trump has long had a fraught relationship with the Postal Service. In his first administration, during the early days of the pandemic, he called the agency a joke and said he wouldn't provide any stimulus loan unless it quadrupled its package prices. A Postal Service spokesperson told the Washington Post that under its modernization plan, it has cut 45 million work hours over the past 3 years and slashed transportation costs by $2 billion. Interesting. Your thoughts on that as we take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
The holiday season has arrived, a time where more than ever our thoughts turn gratefully to those who serve our community and those all around us. May the holiday season end the present year on a cheerful note and make way for a fresh and bright new year. Here's wishing you a happy holidays. This holiday greeting is brought to you by our friends at Tom South Corning Collision, Sheddon's Wholesale, Suburban Propane, Corning Building Company, Empire Bricks, Hector Wine Company, and Apple Ridge Senior Living.
Bundle A with Colton RV at the RV Show Summer Edition at Seneca Allegheny Casino. Buy a new RV and get up to $2,500 in gas and up to a $1,000 shopping spree. New Keystone Springdale Bunkhouse, $189 a month. New Thorpe Palazzo, $1,269 a month. Colton RV will beat any deal on any RV, bunkhouses, outdoor kitchens, motorhomes, travel trailers. If you want it, we've got it at the show. Don't miss the RV at Seneca Allegheny Casino, powered by Colton RV.
Home security needs. Well, let's go to this topic as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. Tim Walz, of course, he was the pick of Kamala Harris to be VP. He said he thought it was a real flex to possibly be the least wealthy person to ever be on the ticket, and wondered how in the world did we lose to a billionaire. I thought it was a real flex when the Wall Street Journal pointed out that I may have been the least wealthy person to ever run for vice president. How in the world do we lose to a billionaire or a venture capitalist when we were making the case of a country attorney and a high school teacher? He went on to explain how he thought he related to middle-class voters, saying, and I thought that would be something people say, well, this guy knows where we're coming from. He had to pay his bills and still does. I focused my whole career in focusing on the middle class, and it seemed like a lot of good ideas were coming from the Democrats, he stated. I still believe that, but apparently in this election, not the majority of Americans did. They chose to vote with a billionaire who's talked about not paying overtime, who has a long history of not paying his workers, someone who wants to take away the ACA, meaning Affordable Care Act. Isn't that interesting? But you criticize him for being a billionaire. Your campaign spent nearly $2 billion to lose in 107 days. Walsh concluded that Democrats did not do a good enough job at securing those voters. So I come back to the conclusion is that we did not do a good enough job. We as a Democrat Party and we as a ticket did not do a good enough job of showing them that we understand where they're coming from, said Tim Walz. As you were spending, again, and I know I mentioned this I keep saying this, but with Joe Sempolinski, if you're struggling to pay the bills and then you see a celebrity like Beyonce, let's say, or Taylor Swift endorsing Harris, and you say, well, wait a minute, I can't even afford to buy one of their tickets for a concert to see them, like Bruce Springsteen, $300, something like that for general admission as he lectures us about the rich. I think those type of things backfired. Bernie Sanders warns of a dangerous precedent from Biden's, quote, very wide open pardon of his son. And there's been a lot of criticism of this pardon. Some have said, well, it's his son, you expected him to do it. It's maybe not, that's not even the biggest problem that people latch onto. The problem is this blanket pardon where he can't get in trouble for crimes known or unknown that were committed in that 11-year period. Bernie was on Meet the Press. He said, we can all understand Biden trying to protect his son and his family. But I think the precedent being set is kind of a dangerous one. It was a very wide open pardon, which could, under different circumstances, lead to problems in terms of future presidents. Sure. I mean, this gave Trump a license to pardon whoever he wants and however he wants. I mean, this was so unprecedented and so wide open. Biden went back on his word and issued a sweeping pardon December 1st, as we know. Not only did the Democrat Prez highly controversial pardon cover his convict son's gun and tax charges, it also shielded Hunter against any other, quote, offenses against the United States, which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st of 2014 through December 1st of 2024. A chorus of Democrats have both privately and publicly fretted that Hunter's full and unconditional pardon could pave the way for President-elect Donald Trump to do the same for people and leave the Democrats without standing to rip him. It's very much so. I mean, he said he's going to pardon the Capitol rioters, things like that. Sunday, NBC anchor Kristen Welker noted how Trump argued that members of the since-defunct House Select January 6th committee, including Cheney, should go to jail. Notably, Trump later clarified that he would not instruct his FBI director to pursue it. Sanders, speaking about Biden's issuing preemptive pardon, said, I think he might want to consider that very seriously. The Vermont lefty called Trump's initial comments about jail for the January 6th probers an outrageous statement. That is what authoritarianism is all about. You do not arrest elected officials who disagree with you. You undertake an investigation. Well, isn't that what they did to him for 4 years? Last week, President Biden also granted pardons and commuted sentences for more than 1,500 individuals, including an official who stole $53 million from taxpayers, as well as a notorious kids for cash judge who imprisoned juveniles for money. Alongside the Hunter Biden pardon, some of those acts of clemency have irked a few Democrats. Amy Klobuchar said no when asked if she was comfortable with the pardons, saying there's also a man in Duluth that was running a major drug house, basically, and had all this money under his bathroom tiles. He was also commuted. I think that this whole process cries out for reform because otherwise you undermine the justice system. Now, despite his misgivings about Hunter's pardon, Bernie Sanders suggests it shouldn't be too much of a blemish on the outgoing president's legacy. I think his legacy is a strong legacy. I think President Biden on domestic policies has been perhaps the most progressive president in the American history since FDR. All right, there you go. So some are not happy, some are not happy on the left that he criticized the Department of Justice, sounding very much like Trump in his statements regarding the pardon of his son. We got a couple other things we're going to wrap up on. I see some comments getting in. Get your last minute comments in. If you missed the announcement on the program this morning, we reached our goal for the Salvation Army Telethon. Our goal was $5,000, so it would be matched fully to $10,000. We had an anonymous donor who was kind enough to match up to $5,000. So our goal was to raise $5,000 for the Salvation Army from the telethon. Excuse me, a little tongue twisted there. We got $5,162.92, meaning that we will be presenting the Salvation Army with $10,162.92. So thank you to everyone who made that possible. We were very excited by the news from the major when she called me on Friday. Very, very excited, very happy with the success of the second annual Salvation Army Telethon here on Big Fox. Now we got to take a short break. Stay with us. Wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We will be right back.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
There's a reality in healthcare today. People are facing rising costs. At Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're here to make sure no one faces them alone. We are advocates for our members and communities, ensuring access to high-quality care and working with doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies to make care as effective and efficient as possible. So every day, every member, everybody benefits.
It's your season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal.
I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. It will be impossible for the elites that rule the Democrat Party to have a soul-searching moment, primarily because they have no soul to search. Merry Christmas and congratulations on the telethon success. Well, thank you. Merry Christmas, and thank you very much. Very proud of the telethon, raising $5,162.92, meaning that we surpassed our goal, as a matter of fact, and that was matched by an anonymous donor, very thoughtful anonymous donor. Christopher Wray's exit clears the way for a new and better FBI. According to Miranda Devine, good riddance to FBI Director Chris Wray, a pretty boy who perfected the art of stonewalling at congressional oversight hearings and treated the FBI airplane like his luxury private jet. He has presided over some of the worst injustices in the Bureau's history. He sapped public trust and brought the mighty Bureau to its knees. Now he is bowed to the inevitable, announcing last week that he will be stepping down 2 years and 9 months shy of his 10-year term. He's getting out before the arrival of Kash Patel, the tough-minded 44-year-old deep state warrior chosen by Donald Trump to reform the world's most powerful law enforcement agency, pending Senate approval. Of course, Wray was criticized by the likes of disgraced ex-CIA Director John Brennan for resigning early. They wanted him to force a showdown with Trump that would give new ammunition for resistance media. Wray scurried for the exit 2 days after Chuck Grassley, patron saint of whistleblowers, sent him an 11-page letter expressing, quote, my vote of no confidence in your continued leadership of the FBI. For the good of the country, it's time for you and your deputy to move on to the next chapter in your lives. Oof. Quite a fall from grace from Wray. So clearing the way to make it easier on Trump there. Oh, by the way, Canadian officials have threatened to cut 1.5 million Americans' power and ban U.S.-made beer in potential Trump trade war. The senior Canada official is threatening to cut off electricity to some 1.5 million Americans and ban the import of U.S.-made beer and liquor as part of a potential trade war with the incoming Trump administration. Doug Ford, the premier of the Canadian province of Ontario, suggested retaliation against possible tariffs that Trump has threatened to impose on products from Canada. So cutting off 1.5 million Americans' powers and ban U.S.-made beer in that Trump trade war. This is interesting. During an interview on Fox News Live, House Oversight Chairman and member of the GOP, Representative James Comer, threw his support behind committee member Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The Democrat Congresswoman from New York is seeking to take the ranking member from fellow Democrat Jamie Raskin. The Kentucky Republican explained his endorsement, saying, of course, you are a member of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. The chair, in fact, you're also a member of the AOC fan club, I understand. And besides believing that you have a good working relationship, what leadership qualities would make AOC an effective oversight ranking member? He said, I think if you look at the current leadership with the Oversight Committee on the Democrat side, they've had Jamie Raskins leading them. So the Democrats have nowhere to go but up. Jamie Raskin has been wrong. So basically, it's the best that they got. According to The Hill, Democrats redefined their approach to Trump's second term. The only thing we seem to know is the strategy of being an anti-Trump party didn't work any better than when we became a primarily anti-Bush party, said Max Burns. In that transformation, we seem to have become unclear about what our pro-Democrat message is. It's more like Republicans post-1960 than anything, where the loss led to a real round of questions about what our values are and our strategy is. So will they be doing this soul searching? That has been the question all day long, and I don't believe so. Lindsey Graham says Pete Hegseth has pledged to release accuser from confidentiality agreement. That was on Meet the Press. All right, we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Again, thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you to everyone who participated, or just by watching or donating or whatever you did in your participation efforts for the Salvation Army Telethon that was on Friday, again, reaching $5,162.92. So that means we double that because of that thoughtful anonymous donor, so we're really excited about that. That's to talk about kicking off the start to an amazing week. So we appreciate you being a part of it. If you missed it, you can see it on YouTube, the full broadcast of the telethon with all of its great music. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, I look forward to it already.
The holiday season has arrived, a time where more than ever our thoughts turn gratefully to those who serve our community and those all around us. May the holiday season end the present year on a cheerful note and make way for a fresh and bright new year. Here's wishing you a happy holidays. This holiday greeting is brought to you by our friends at Tom South Corning Collision, Sheddon's Wholesale, Suburban Propane, Corning Building Company, Empire Bricks, Hector Wine Company, and Apple Ridge Senior Living.